Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling fantastic out there this morning and having a great start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to give you some updated information about what's going to happen weather-wise for your Wednesday. And then, of course, we'll give you some updated information about what's to come. We've been speaking a lot about the last couple days of the year into the first week, even 10 days of January. And we will continue to give you guys updated information on that in the future videos and in this video. So definitely take advantage of those timestamps. If you're not worried about the weather specifically for today, I will have timestamps up kind of sectioning off different areas of the video, speaking on different storm signals, the cold air, snow chances, all those things that are ahead of us. So we'll speak on it all. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. So let's start off by taking a look at what's going on based off water vapor loops. Make sure this is working. It is. I don't know if you can see it, if you could point to it, but the upper level low is right here in the middle of your screen. You see the spin ongoing right now over sections of like Kansas, Missouri, and surrounding states. That is our upper level low. This is already bringing moisture to Missouri, some snow, some rain, and then there's just pieces of energy kind of shooting around it. Now, we will see more energy that gets going and kind of wraps up this way, and then it kind of comes back down or kind of more so like this. As we get over the next kind of 24 hours, this will bring more moisture outside of what we're already seeing in Missouri and areas of Kansas. We even still have back end snow still going in like this across areas of Nebraska, Kansas, just not very heavy. Even up here in the Dakotas, as we're kind of in the final day, I would say, of this significant winter weather event that we've been dealing with over the middle of the country and kind of the northern plains and north central U.S. over the last several days. But we're finally wrapping that up. But we still have ongoing blizzard warnings as of right now, but I expect those to expire as we get later on for today. So we do have this moist flow into the southeast. You can see it indicated by the wider colors on your screen. A lot of moist air getting thrown up into the mid-Atlantic and to the northeast. This is falling in the form of rain as just a lot of moisture gets pulled around this upper level low. But this upper level low will continue to slowly drift down into the mid-south, where it will deliver a chance of some snow as we get to the end of the work week. We do have a moist feed working its way into the western U.S., the west coast, Northern California, even Central California, Oregon, Washington State. We'll give you guys some updated information on that. So that's kind of what's going on based off water vapor loop. Let's talk about what's actually falling from the sky out here, whether it's snow, ice, rain, and there it is. You can see it off radar. You can see this upper level low kind of spinning around. You see the moisture spinning with it. This is in the form of snow if you're immediately kind of under that upper level low, where this is bringing its own cold air, and you got a little bit of snow flying around in northern and northwest Missouri, snow falling heavy at times in southern sections of Iowa. And there's that back end moisture continuing to funnel around this upper level low. Not a whole lot, but still areas of light to moderate snow out there, and just a whole lot of rain in southern Ontario, Ohio, PA, West Virginia, still in eastern sections of the Carolinas, the Delmarva, waking up to a rainy morning, and just good old rain for the northeast, where you would think snow would be falling, especially inland of I-95 at this time of the year. But it's just rain. I am watching the threat of a winter weather event for areas in Maine, especially, and we'll talk about that in this video. Moisture entering the Pacific Northwest, as you can see. We talked about that on the water vapor loop. This is actually falling in the form of some rain. Very high elevation snow up here in the Pacific Northwest, like the Cascades. It's not even really cold enough for winter weather in the Olympic Mountains. So that tells you right there it's a pretty warm storm. But the Storm Prediction Center, just a general risk of thunderstorms in areas of the mid-Atlantic and sections of the Northeast. Not a big deal, just as you still have that convective element of a lot of moist air getting pulled on the east side of this upper level low. And then we have a threat of some thunderstorms, even in Northern California, extreme western sections of Oregon and Washington State, basically the coastal sections. But as far as severe weather today, not going to be a storyline. We've been lucky so far this fall into winter. No big-time severe weather events so far, besides what happened, of course, in Tennessee a couple weeks back in December. But oftentimes we have multiple severe weather events. That's really been the only big one, and unfortunately it was a big one. But the excessive rainfall outlook, we have a marginal risk of flash flooding across areas of the Delmarva into just coastal sections of the Northeast, and then a marginal risk of excessive rainfall in northern Cal, very small section of southwest Oregon. That means there's at least a 5% risk of flash flood guidance occurring within 25 miles of any given location. Not a big flash flooding risk today. Watches, warnings, advisories, like I said, still some lingering blizzard warnings in Colorado. This is probably just due to the continuation of high winds and snow on the ground getting blown around. So definitely continue to just take the weather serious in these areas. Still ongoing winter storm warnings up for 3 counties in extreme northwest Nebraska, 1 county in Wyoming. Winter weather advisories continuing just from areas of snow that continues to make its way through. Several counties in northwest Missouri, winter weather advisories. 6 counties in the southern sections of Iowa, winter weather advisories. We'll see if more winter weather advisories will be issued a little bit further east and southeast throughout the day today. I will be interested in that, and we will speak on this as we get to this frame in the video, and then we will have kind of 2 sections of this area because of what's happening today, and then what moves in overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. A lot of fog out there. In fact, I'm surprised they don't have dense fog advisories up for my neck of the woods. I was up at 4 a.m. outside working out at 5 a.m. and it was really foggy. It was really moist, 62 degrees. Certainly felt like a spring morning or early summer morning out there. It's just how it is in the southeast sometimes in the winter. But as far as all this, moisture, rain, man, it has been a rainy last 48 hours across areas of the southeast. This is finally moving out. We're still going to deal with the dampness out there. But you can see that low ongoing off the coast of the southeast, really the Carolinas, and we will continue to deal with the rain in extreme eastern sections of North Carolina, continue to deal with some rain in areas of Virginia, the Delmarva region, Washington, D.C., Maryland as we get into this evening. Some more rain will make its way into Florida as we get later tonight, like after midnight. You'll start to see some more rain in the Big Bend region all the way down the west coast of Florida, Tampa Bay, and rain will pretty much overspread the entire peninsula of Florida, and we will just have pretty much a soaking rain just for Florida. Typical El Nino kind of stuff. But as you can tell, by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, we'll speak a little bit closer on this here in a second. Snow is falling in areas of southern Illinois, with more snow on the way, about to wrap in from the north to the south. So rain today in the Northeast, a washout on the way for most, if it's not already out there this morning. We will get all the way to about midday. It's raining pretty good in Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Erie, all of western PA. Rain starting to move in from the south and southern and southeast PA. Delmarva region continues to see just light and moderate rain, heavy rain at times in Virginia. Light rain for the Northeast as we get to about midday, but as we start to make ourselves into the evening hours, heavy rain will kind of let up in western PA, West Virginia, and start to kind of take over eastern sections of PA. Still raining pretty good in the Delmarva, especially Maryland. And then rain falling in New York City. Just rain up here in Maine where it should be snowing, but hold tight, might have a winter storm on the way as we get a little bit later into the week, into this weekend. But man, as we're getting into the wee hours of the morning, into tomorrow morning, heavy rain will greet you guys for your Thursday morning. Maybe some strong winds too. I don't think it'll be a hefty wind event by any means, but some moderate to heavy rain falling across Long Island, Connecticut, another just all rain event. So we will see what happens, see if we got any winter weather chances on the horizon for you folks. But this one is yet again another rain event. If we look at the rainfall just between now and actually Friday morning, so we're going to go out 48 hours, it's really going to pinpoint Virginia, areas of the Mid-Atlantic, the Delmarva region, up into New Jersey, Delaware, Long Island, into the southern sections of New England, where anywhere from 1 to as much as 3 inches of rain could fall. Everybody else outside this region, anywhere from half an inch to maybe 1.25 inches of rain could fall. This is just rain this time. So the south central U.S., we will include Missouri in this frame. Sometimes we include Missouri in the north central U.S. I know we go back and forth. I know that's kind of confusing. There's a couple states that it's kind of like right on the border of different sections of the U.S., and sometimes I just kind of go back and forth. But starting off this morning, there is some lingering snow showers and maybe just bursts of heavier snow kind of drifting throughout the afternoon in northeast Colorado. This event trended a lot more snowier. When we look back at the beginning of this event, it did not look like northeast Colorado was going to get a lot of snow from this. It ended up getting a good bit from what I'm hearing, and even northwest Kansas. But we will continue to deal with some strong winds in these areas and just blowing snow. But if you go right here to this region, there's the snow starting to fall, and this upper level low is kind of strengthening. which means cold air and all levels of the atmosphere is beginning to get more amplified in this region, even at the surface. And we stop it right here. There's not a lot going on in Texas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Mississippi, even Arkansas. I do think some flurries, some snow showers could make their way into northwest Arkansas as we make our way into the afternoon hours. But let's go on and just get a little bit closer look at our folks in Missouri and surrounding states and Illinois. Starting off this morning, we do have a little bit of action going on as we make our way into about midday. If you're confused about the time frame, back this up 1 hour because we're in Central Time and this is in Eastern Time. So this is around lunchtime for today. We're making our way into the afternoon. I think moisture will increase. And I mean, look down here in Springfield. We're getting some snow showers around 4 p.m. Maybe some heavier snow, moderate to heavier snow falling around Columbia. These are tricky events. I explained that last night, how sometimes they're feast and famine. Sometimes they don't work out, but sometimes when they do, they work out on the higher end and bust a lot of forecast and more of the higher total range, if that makes sense. But I do think as we get into this afternoon, if you're an hour or two west of St. Louis, you could get into some heavy snow, and a couple inches of snow could add up. I think you'll struggle kind of switching the snow around St. Louis throughout the evening. Snow will continue to fall in southern Iowa and a lot of Missouri. And then we start to make our way into this evening. And I do think you have an opportunity to switch to a burst of maybe moderate to heavy snow around the St. Louis area. Still snowing in Columbia, Missouri. This continues, and this energy begins to shift southeast. You start to see some rain showers around the Nashville, Cumberland Plateau region. And then the leftover of this energy kind of fizzles out. Could get some snow showers as far, I think it's possible as far southwest as Tulsa. Some of these flurries could make their way in the Ozarks and then the southern sections of Missouri, the Boot Hill, Missouri, and then some bursts of snow as we're waking up tomorrow morning in southern sections of Illinois. And I think that, as we're making our way into tomorrow morning, I think you could get some snow flying around Evansville. Could start to see some flurry activity even Thursday morning in areas of Nashville. But this is the big plume of moisture I'm watching as this surges down. This is a totally kind of different area of energy. They're kind of the same, kind of combined together, but different in the same way. And we're going to watch this as this shifts southward tomorrow. And we're going to have a separate discussion on this here in a second, so stick with me. But just between now, kind of this first small event, between now and Thursday morning, I think a couple inches of snow is possible in certain areas of Missouri. It's just trying to figure out where. If you're listening in from Missouri, please let me know what you see. Let me know your town and where you live at, and especially around the St. Louis area. Just from between this first event, I don't expect much in St. Louis, but like I said, you work yourself an hour or two kind of west of town. I do think you can get an inch, 2 inches of snow. The blend of all models shows it. A little bit of snow adding up in southern Illinois and just dusting amounts, a few tenths of an inch. Remember, a half an inch of snow is enough to make the ground white. So just a small event, but, for snow fans that have not been able to get much snow over the last winter or two, especially the last winter, you'll take this. And this graphic, guys, is 16, 17 hours old. I have no idea why the National Weather Service sometimes waits so long to kind of update stuff, and especially when snow is forecast in areas that don't typically see it as much. Now, I know Missouri sees it a lot more than areas further south, but still, seems like they would have a better upgraded graphic. Maybe nothing has changed, but anyways, enough of all that. Graphic from the National Weather Service of St. Louis. Here it is. Name some town: Jefferson City, Columbia, down to Rolla, Festus. And like I said, this matches up well with what I was saying. Troy, you work yourself an hour, 2 hours west of St. Louis. It says the greatest potential for accumulation. Everybody else in the light blue, mainly snow, but just little to no accumulation. I just think it's just because you just get on and off snow, but this is where a consolidated area of snow today could be at. Mainly rain in Illinois just because you're outside this upper level low, but that could change as we get into tomorrow. Talking about the north central U.S. here, there's that spinach down there. We won't speak on that anymore. We will speak on it for tomorrow, but as far as today, we've already discussed it. We could have another development of light, maybe at times moderate snow in eastern sections of South Dakota. Maybe some snow showers are possible in southwest Minnesota. These can make their way into kind of accumulate even more snow this evening in areas of Nebraska. A little bit of snow making its way in, and this continues and just could have a little bit more snow shower activity all the way through Nebraska, all the way down into Kansas. So we continue to kind of deal with that. And then here comes the kind of that other area energy beginning to form. A little bit of snow you're waking up to, maybe in the Janesville area, Wisconsin, especially north, Madison. A little bit of snow, rain shower mix. Looks like just rain in Chicago and Milwaukee, where you continue to have a lackluster start to winter for sure. And I mean, even my friends up here in the UP of Michigan, it's been very quiet for the last couple weeks. I think a lot of areas don't even have snow on the ground anymore. I know Steven is great about giving me updates from that region, but you know, it's going quiet because there's been no, I know a lot of times in the Great Lakes region, it's the lake effect snows that really piles up the snow, but we haven't had a big time cold air mass to work across the Great Lakes region. So therefore we haven't had any lake effect snow events. So Western U.S., kind of a big area of moisture will make its way into the coastal regions of northern Cal, Oregon, and Washington. As we get into the morning hours here in the next couple hours, it really begins to take over. A warmer system. We start to get into about midday at this point. Just moderate rain falling across most of these areas. Basically the western half of Oregon and Washington, northern Cal, rain moves in. Higher elevation snow in the Cascades. Got to get way up there. It's kind of a warmer system. But I think some rain will try to make its way later this afternoon to this evening, all the way down to San Francisco. San Diego, LA, I don't think you're going to get much moisture from this. Ron down in San Diego, I don't think you're going to get much from this. But, you know, Sierra Nevada, the northern regions, could start to pick up some heavy snow later on this afternoon, this evening. And then after you get into the overnight hours, just some banding of rain could make its way through. And this energy will try to make it to I almost said Odaha. Idaho. Idaho. Some of this moisture will try to make its way to Idaho a little bit later in the period, getting into tomorrow morning. But rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. You know, it's going to add up, especially as it pushes against these higher elevations in the mountainous regions of the west, Cascades, and up against the immediate coastline. A couple inches of precipitation. Valleys, just a tenth to a quarter inch of precipitation. But if you notice, you look at the snowfall totals, guys, it's not adding up to much. This isn't really much for the Cascades. It is, you know, showing some snow in the Olympic Mountains, despite what I said about it looks like it's going to be mostly rain. So we'll watch. But light totals for the Sierra Nevada standards in California, not a whole lot going on. You got to get pretty far up there in elevation. Temperatures today. One last kind of warm day across the Carolinas and Georgia, as you know, you still got a moist feed of warm air and moist air in these regions. So 60s today again, but dry air and cooler air moves in overnight. The Ohio Valley, the Midwest, I mean, you know, you're still above average temperature wise. The Northeast, well above average, with temperatures in the 40s for most, some low 50s even. And I mean, this is even well above average, even though you got snow on the ground up here. I mean, it's already going to begin to melt. I mean, you're already getting back into the upper 30s in North Dakota. That is well above average for this time of the year in these areas, and even Minnesota. So your ice will begin to kind of fall off the trees up here. I know you guys got hit by a crippling ice storm over the last couple of days. You know, areas of the Ozarks will struggle to get above freezing because of this upper level low. A cold day in Missouri because of this upper level low. But nothing too crazy as far as comparing it to average temperatures. You look out west, some areas are slightly below average, some areas are slightly above average. So that equals out to about an average day temperature-wise out here. But some areas are well above average. So I think more areas are above average temperature-wise than below average. But this is what it's looking like. Southern Texas will be nice in the 60s, but you're starting to get into central northern Texas. It's a cool day in the 50s and even 40s in certain areas. Oklahoma, definitely a chilly day with just temperatures in the 30s and 40s. So, all right, so let's give you some updated information. We're kind of going back to Missouri, Illinois, and surrounding states, and we've already talked about what can happen today. The next thing I'm watching is this back-end energy that swings through that could be much more aggressive, and as it does, and we're just going to look at the NAM here, we're getting into tomorrow afternoon. Look at the snow moving into the Rockford area, Janesville region. We don't know if this is exactly the way it's going to unfold because these upper-level lows are tricky. But you got snow falling in the Davenport region, eastern Iowa, communities in eastern Iowa, even some more snow falling in areas of southern Iowa, northern Illinois seeing the snow. And this will continue just to kind of develop and get a much more aggressive looking. And at this point, we're getting into about 9-10 p.m. tomorrow night. You got snow falling in Lafayette, Indiana, Indianapolis, Peoria. Snow is moving south. And then an area of what looks like accumulating snow begins to move in from the north to the south in St. Louis. More snow begins to make its way into Columbia region, Quincy region, Missouri, and even starting to show some snow flurries kind of in central areas of Tennessee, even northern Alabama. Look, I don't know if I buy this, but we'll see. I would say this would be a nice appetizer for your chance of snow as you get more into Friday. So we'll have to see if this actually comes to friction here. Even in Tupelo, Mississippi, some flurry activity. If you hear a bird in the background, it's very loud. It must literally be right outside my wall. Even sounds like it's in my house at this point. But you keep this going. You're getting into the wee hours of the morning, Friday morning. You got snow flying across St. Louis. So you could go to bed tomorrow afternoon, and there's not a whole lot going on. And then you'll wake up Friday morning, and you got a coating of snow on the ground in St. Louis, some snow flying just basically along the Missouri-Illinois state line, snow flying around in central Illinois. This continues to work all the way to the Boot Hill, Missouri, and southern sections of Illinois. And eventually, we start to get into Friday morning. We have snow flying around in extreme western areas of Kentucky, and just on and off light to moderate snow across central and southern Illinois, still snowing in eastern areas of Missouri, still snowing all the way back here in northern Missouri. Some snow continues to kind of drift around in Indianapolis. If this is the way it unfolds, like the 3KM NAM is saying, this could be a nice little event if you're a winter weather fan. And as you're getting all the way to about midday Friday, look at this snow falling in the Boot Hill, Missouri, Jonesboro, Arkansas, starting to move into the Dyersburg, Tennessee region, Paducah, Mayfield region. Snow starting to get into the Clarksville area of Tennessee. And I mean, this is about midday Friday too. So interesting look here for sure. And if you kind of compare this with the GFS, it's probably not as aggressive, but this is what could fall between now and the next 24 hours. But you're starting to make your way into the next 24 hours after that. Let's go on and go out in the next 36 hours. And, between both of these events, I mean, you could get a couple inches of snow, maybe an inch of snow in St. Louis. We'll see what happens. And just light amounts throughout Illinois. But, 9/10 of an inch of snow, for example, in these regions, 7/10 of an inch of snow is enough to make the ground white. So I know this isn't hardly anything compared to you guys' standards in Illinois, but it's a little bit of snow flying around these regions, a little bit of snow in southern sections of Illinois. Am I ready to call this a forecast? I'm not, because the National Weather Service is not going for these kind of totals. In fact, they're not really saying any snow for really St. Louis, maybe 3/10 of an inch, which, is a dusting. But it's not throwing much of a bone for northern or really anybody in Illinois, not much of a bone for Indiana. So who's going to win that? And it's nothing against the National Weather Service, but I can tell you the National Weather Service is always going to go more conservative. So the blend of all models says, hey, you got a chance to see a little snow in Illinois and certainly in Missouri, southern and central sections of Indiana, and certainly in Kentucky. Now, you make your way southeast into Tennessee, and this is where it stops. Looks like snow's about to move into Nashville about midday Friday. So this is as far out as it goes, kind of up into the Mississippi Delta region. I would say up the Mississippi River, right into this region. Delta's down here in Mississippi. But you take a look at the GFS, and we're just not quite in short-range model guidance for the Mid-South time frame, which is getting into late Friday and into maybe even Saturday morning. But if you look at the latest GFS, this is just going to show blobs of light blue, even some dark blue. And the light blue is probably in the form of just some snow flurries, light snow showers. But, this could, affect areas of all of Kentucky, I think. I think as we're getting into Friday afternoon, you could have an area of light snow potentially in eastern Kentucky, extreme southwest Virginia, maybe even northeast areas, kind of the northern extent of the Cumberland Plateau, northeast sections of Tennessee. And then we have this energy and this energy. Okay, and as they kind of dance around one another, who knows? GFS sometimes is off its rockers, but, low tries to form and you get kind of a wintry mix kind of showing up here, maybe a rain snow in central Virginia. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but the GFS has already went away from showing this kind of pretty substantial snowstorm in West Virginia that I literally just showed you guys last night. That's how flip-floppy the GFS is. But I'm pretty confident on flurries flying around, snow showers flying around in northern Alabama, even northern Georgia and Tennessee. I'm pretty confident in that, guys. I really am. Even the National Weather Service in Huntsville discusses it, which is in northern Alabama if you're not familiar with the southeast and you're tuning in. But you continue to get into, Saturday morning, you got snow flying around the Cumberland Plateau, those favored areas, snow flying around in areas of central Kentucky. And then we got this Man, here goes the nose itching like crazy. But then we got these areas that are really close to Atlanta. Light blue showing up. Snow is getting very close to these regions. And then we just have a little bit of lift from the mountains of Tennessee, North Carolina, and some light snow flying around. This isn't a lot. Certainly not a major winter storm or even a minor winter storm by any means. But I do think somebody could squeeze out an inch of snow from this event, especially if you live in the Cumberland Plateau. I really do. And you keep this going, guys, and this could last all the way through about midday Saturday based off the GFS. And I know this just shows blobs of really light blue, but like I said, when we're looking at these global models, think of that as just maybe some snow flurries, snow showers, light snow, nothing substantial. Could get some burst of moderate snow, but certainly enough to add up if you can get a sustained period of snow. And I definitely think just up the Appalachian mountain range, you're going to get a little bit of snow from this. So what about the blend of all models? What is it showing for this? Well, I like this forecast, honestly, from the blend of all models. I think that there'll be areas along the Cumberland Plateau that score the biggest from the Mid-South. Typically, they are with this kind of energy that flies in from the Northwest. I think someone could squeeze in an inch of snow somewhere in the Cumberland Plateau. I do think the valleys, I hate to say it, will get probably screwed from this. And it just is this not a favorable setup for you folks, especially when you're dealing with a cold air issue. I do think some dusting to maybe half an inch totals are possible throughout anywhere in Kentucky. If I would favor anybody, it would be extreme western Kentucky and probably the eastern hills of Kentucky. And then, of course, you're going to get a couple inches of snow probably in the higher elevations of the Smokies, around the Roan Mountain area, and just higher elevations just in general of North Carolina and Tennessee. I do think you're going to get at minimum some flurries, maybe even some light snow in northern Alabama, North Georgia, maybe even northern sections of Mississippi. I do. I really do. Now, if you look at the National Weather Service for this region, it definitely says, hey, more snow is going to fall in West Virginia, and I believe that. I think the energy around will be there. I just don't think it's going to be as high end as what the GFS was showing last night. I don't think it's as kind of weak at all, also as what the GFS is showing right now. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think a few inches of snow could definitely add up in West Virginia, just in the higher elevations, unfortunately. For snow fans outside the higher elevations in West Virginia. I think the higher elevations of Virginia could get, an inch of snow. I think it's possible, but they're not giving much of a bone for the Cumberland Plateau. I don't believe this. I think a little bit more snow could add up than this. I do. And I could be wrong. And if I am, let me have it. I'm cool with that. That's what I do. But we'll continue to get you guys updated information. Today we will start to move solidly in the short range model range, so we'll be able to take a look at these short range mesoscale models. The Northeast just rain as we're moving into Friday morning based off the GFS, but as you can tell, we're getting to Friday morning. There's enough cold air around in northern Maine where this turns into a wintry mix in the pink of ice and then snow in the blue. And then by the time we're getting into Friday evening, heavy snow begins to fall as the development of a low pressure. This is what the GFS showing, and the Euro and GFS are still not agreeing with this, but I can tell you the GFS kind of made a motion towards the Euro for something. The time frame is still a little not in sync, if you will, but this has snow falling in areas of New Hampshire, southern sections, and just western and southwestern sections of Maine. You keep this going, and all of a sudden it switches to I wouldn't say substantial for Maine standards, but a pretty hefty snow event for areas of Maine. This dark blue, that's heavy snow. With that low right off the coast of Maine, heavy snow flying across basically the heart of Maine. And this keeps on going, could turn into a more substantial event for New Brunswick, maybe Nova Scotia. We're getting into Saturday midday and then getting into Saturday evening, and then it's done. Now, what does the Euro show? Euro, same thing. We're getting into Thursday evening, waking up Friday morning. The Euro is still going gung-ho on ice. Freezing rain as we're waking up Friday morning. What does the GFS show for Friday morning in this region? Rain. Rain in the same area, right? It does show some wintry weather in northern Maine, but rain in the same area Friday morning that the Euro is saying an ice storm is going to be ongoing here in central Maine. So, it's pretty sad how much they don't agree. I'm going to be wondering how this works out. But the Euro says a major winter storm. I will say major just because you got ice involved with this, but could be some significant icing off the Euro. Is this a forecast? No, it's not. And I hate to say that, and we're well under 100 hours, but it's just not. I don't even know how they're handling this up here in Maine. You guys let me know what your locals are saying if you're tuning in from Maine. But you got heavy snow in northern Maine, freezing rain, freezing sleet, freezing rain mix, and kind of central Maine, and just freezing rain in the pink. And you keep this going, and this does eventually switch to snow Friday evening. But, it's more ice than snow compared to the GFS. And then back behind this, Saturday afternoon, I think we could have a lot of energy flying around, and some leftover light to moderate snow could be drifting through interior sections of the Northeast. So the blend of all models for this, because we're not in range of the National Weather Service. A couple inches of snow, going for around 3 inches of snow in Caribou, and just not big totals showing up from this. But you look at the ice, it has upticked a little bit from last night. We're seeing more widespread 1/10 of an inch ice totals in these regions. There's still not a huge signal for ice, but there is a signal for sure. What about after this? Okay, and this has kind of been the theme of our videos, right? We're getting into the morning of New Year's. Energy flying on top. This is bringing a punch of cold air. This will probably kickstart the lake effect snow machine across the Great Lakes region, probably deliver a minor to maybe moderate snow event. But then we're getting into the afternoon of January 1st, and here's some energy flying in. It's just cold enough for the higher elevations. I see a little bit of snow. This is very typical of El Nino. You typically have a cold air issue, but you got a lot of moisture, a lot of storm energy. So even minor cold air is enough for the higher elevations in areas further north. But you keep this going, guys, and this is just rain, another rainstorm for Georgia and the Carolinas. And this isn't a huge system by any means. Lake effect snow energy going on in the Northeast. And this could be a snow event though, but not a big one because this system's not pulling north. It's not being tugged north, but this is just all rain developing low off the coast of the Southeast. But it could be a chilly rain. Okay, what about the Euro for that system? Same thing. New Year's Eve, getting into to New Year's, and there's that same system, but it gets really suppressed to the south. And I think it's because the cold air push on the Euro is probably better than what it is on the GFS. So you got that 540 line, which you like to look at. That doesn't mean it's freezing at the surface, but aloft. But this moisture does not want to get into that cold air. So therefore, it's a pretty dry system, and it only gives moisture to Florida. And if you could get this to somehow pull in north and keep that cold air in place, it could be a winter weather event, even for areas further south, but that's not the case. So there is still a storm signal there, and you can see it here. Here's the energy right here to the north, some energy surging in from the south. And, based off the GFS, they do link up enough right into here to be kind of just a system that's suppressed the southeast, but it's enough inland to bring a little bit of energy, a little bit of rain, as we are getting into the first couple of days of the new year. And just enough cold air to where there's some snow falling in the higher elevations of the southern Alps. So that moves in and that moves out. So what about after that? And there's a bigger storm signal that we're watching several days into January. I would say a few to several. And here comes another area of energy as we're getting into the 3rd and to the 4th. It's just rain, obviously, in the Gulf of Mexico, but you see that 540 line. You see just the blue. When you start to see the blue lines on the screen, just think of that as cold air coming down. And when you start to see them group up like this, that means that you got some really cold air coming down. But that's up in Canada, which we like to see if you're a winter weather fan. The cold air returning to Canada. This is bringing the snowpack back and kind of cooling down our cold air source. But here comes the GFS. Remember the GFS last night showing that big winter storm? Well, it suppresses this now. It's not a bad look. A lot of people that just let their emotions control them model run to model run. I know a lot of people like that, and it's no offense to people who are like that because once upon a time, Mitch was like that also. But when you start to kind of dive deep into what's out there energy-wise, you realize that the players are still in the field. They're just not linking up run to run. And we expect that once we get over a week out, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, the GFS is a miss here. It misses the energy swing, but once you get past that, you start to get in La La Land about 10 days out. Look at all this moisture bubbling up in the Gulf Coast, Texas. Look at all the cold air on top. You're thinking, man, is this going to come north or not? It does not. But right at the tail end, and guys, it's 300 hours out. Morning of January 8th, way out there. Big low developing off the coast of the southeast, and this brings winter weather all the way to the coastal sections of the Carolinas, with energy kind of shooting next to it, and then we get a big cold air push, big time winter weather event. And then you see at the very end of the run, another winter weather event for the deep south. That's not a forecast, but this is way out there. We're starting to get to the mid-January time frame at this point. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is yes, there's no huge storm on the field out there, but there's a lot of energy flying around with just enough cold air for certain areas. I think something is coming. Even in this early to mid-January pattern, we just got to find the storm. I do think something is going to emerge as we get a little bit closer to the new year. We just got to see what that is. And, you look at the Euro, and it does show a signal right here at day 8 and 9, but it's just a cold rain. But if you look very closely, you got to put on some bifocals here. There's enough cold air in the mountains where this is a wintry weather, and even a wintry mix here in areas of Virginia. You got cold air coming down the latest Euro, but this is still a miss with the cold air. It is. But you look at the final frame of the Euro, and you got cold air sinking down. You got your classic looking energy here in Texas. And if you were to keep this going, it would probably show some sort of winter storm for someone. A lot of energy flying around, guys. A lot to figure out, and that's what we're here to do. So that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you again soon.